is asking in a very unequivocal manner, oh people, would you force them to believe? This makes it completely unchallenged. This makes it patently clear that any kind of effort which is aimed at converting people of one faith tradition to another is un-Quranic, un-Islamic. So, well, as our sister was talking about Maulana Wahiduddin Khan's effort and his writings, which call for pluralism, unity in diversity, that are celebrated in India, in Indian society. And he also works for what he calls dawah, so calling people towards the divine path. But there are clerics in India and in other countries as well, where in the name of dawah, people are engaged in conversion, which goes completely against the tenets of the Quran. Dawah does mean calling people towards the divine path, but it is not limited only to one faith tradition. So again, the Quran says, and I have quoted it, one cannot forcibly convert one people, one community to another. So religious pluralism is the desire and design of the divine in the Holy Quran.
All right. And I believe that there is an ayat also, Najud, which says that, if I were to quote, it is, He made so many tribes and races and cultures among you so that you might recognize one another. Al Quran 49:13. And these principles of peace and harmony are also cardinal principles which are present in Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Sikhism, and other religious beliefs. And religion and culture were never constraints. The main constraints are politicization and the misuse of religion and the culture for one's own interest. Problems arise when one shows hatred towards other cultures and consider his own above all. I would like your take on this.
Yes, of course, it's very important to know each other. And I think one of the issues that people of all faiths have is thinking my way or the highway, literally to hell. And I feel when we move from reading the scriptures from the ego and worship God from the temple of the heart, something transforms in us. And the consciousness rises and you start to root for everyone and you start to appreciate the truth in everyone, and then you find the shared message. So for example, if you're sitting with people of various religions and people are praying in different ways, and people will get triggered and feel uncomfortable, what is the common thread? The common thread is the oneness of God. So even, for example, when you're with an atheist, the word theist will come from theo, which is God. Even the atheist has the center is God. So you've got God and then all these branches coming out. So even that one, and I remember one person said they like half the shahada, they're halfway there, and when you speak to a lot of people who have left religion, it's not religion. Religion is in essence, it's the heart, it's the dogma that they're leaving behind. When religion becomes dogmatic, even the followers will run away from it. When it becomes, as Shabina was saying, spiritual, and how Brother Ghulam was saying, when you start to, recognize it and see that God did not will to have us one community, things transform around. And you want everyone in heaven.
Absolutely.
That's the
Yes,
test.
you're right.
How much do you love? Of course, if you love only Muslims from your sect and from your nation and from who look like you, where's the test of love? Root for everyone.
Well,
Ghulam bhai, sorry.
I would just take it further from where Miss Najood has left. the beautiful verse which she quoted from Surah Al-Hujurat, which says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, inna khalaqnakum, we have created you, shu'uban wa qaba'il, min dhakarin wa untha. We have created you and made you into different communities. We have created you from one single male and female. Why? لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that you can recognize each other. This ta'aruf, this recognition is the core essence of this religious pluralism in the Holy Quran. And Ibn Arabi, one of the Sufi philosophers and propounder of Wahdatul Wajud, which is translated as unity of the being, of the unity of the existence. Ibn al-Arabi, when he comments on this verse in his beautiful poetry, Tarjumanul Ashwaq, or translation of the desires, he says, and I quote, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
When he says in his beautiful, profound poetry, my heart is capable of every form. Kaaba for the Muslims, castle or cathedral for the Christians, or temple for the idol worshippers, so on and so forth. Then he leaves open the door for salvation for all people of tradition and even for people of non-faith. Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins Surah Al-Fatiha, begins the Quran with Surah Al-Fatiha, he calls himself Rabbul Alameen, Alhamdulillahi Rabbul Alameen. So on one hand, he calls himself Rabbul Alameen, Lord of the worlds, of the entire worlds. On the other hand, he calls his Prophet Muhammad as Rahmatul Lil Alameen, mercy for all mankind. And by calling himself Rabbul Alameen, or by designating his Prophet as Rahmatul Lil Alameen, Allah does not restrict his mercy or his rabubiyat, his rabubiyat, his lordship, only for one community. So people of faith traditions and even non-faith traditions are accommodated equally into the rabubiyat, into rahmat, mercy of Prophet Muhammad, and the lordship of Allah in Rabbul Alameen. So this is this.
Somebody has to mute. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's just a just a humble submission on what Miss Najuda has enlightened.
You
Um, Ghulam, Mr. Ghulam, we would like, since you have mentioned about it's an open and very assimilative and very accepting faith, Islam, and it does not discriminate based upon caste or any creed, and it's for the entire Alameen. And when we say the word Alameen for our the viewers, could you just try to make it a bit simpler to make them understand the word meaning of terminology of Alameen when it comes to the Islam, from the Islamic perspective?
Well, from the Islamic perspective, there is a beautiful interpretation of Alameen, which is found in the Sufi literature in particular, which I have studied, and that is Islam, or Islamic tradition has a broader cosmology, which is actually inclusive of the entire concept of Alameen. And this cosmology includes not only the humankind, but also all species, all flora and fauna. So all creatures are included into this beautiful concept of Alameen, which is well explained, well elucidated by the concept of mercy or rahmah. So the word rahma, of which the two beautiful uh, derivatives are Rahman and Rahim, the two beautiful names, the two Asmaul Husna of Allah Rabbul Izzat, the two beautiful names of Allah, Rahman or Rahim, both are derivative of Rahim. And Rahim, etymologically in Arabic, literally means womb of a mother. So Allah exemplifies himself, His mercy, His kindness, His compassion by womb of a mother. So Allah calls Himself as a womb of a mother, and this feminine mercy of which Allah Rabbul Izzat identifies His compassion is that just as a mother's womb does not discriminate between, a believing or non-believing son or daughter, a believing or non-believing, and in embryo, you do not differentiate, or mother does not differentiate between any believing, non-believing uh, child. Similarly, Allah's mercy does not differentiate between people of faith or non-faith. This is all about His rahmat, His mercy, which includes not only humankind, not only human beings, but also all creatures, to which several hadith traditions, prophetic traditions allude to. You remember the hadith in which Prophet sees the sparrows, mother and her child, mother hugging and feeding her child, and then Prophet Muhammad finger points his fingers to the sparrows and asked his companions, "O Sahaba, O companions, do you think there could be more love, more compassion than these sparrows?" And then Sahaba replied, "We can't imagine." Then Prophet says, "Allah loves you more than these sparrows." So I think this is the most befitting elucidation of this Alameen concept.
Hmm. Shabina, could you give us some examples of God's Allah's love for humanity, in which is a central theme to all religions, based out of the Quranic scriptures?
There is a Quranic verse, that is chapter 42 and verse 13. He says, establish the religion and do not become divided therein. So here the Quran states that we believe in God and in that which He has revealed to us and to Abraham, Ismail, Isaac, Jacob, and the descendants, and that which was revealed to Moses, Jesus, and that which was revealed to the prophets from the Lord. We make no difference between one and another, and we bow in submission to Him. This is chapter 2, verse 136. Here we see that God is As-Salam, and which means God's name itself says that it is peace and security. When we see the Prophet's life, and when he was for 13 years, he was in Mecca, and after that he migrated to Medina. When he went there, he saw that the people who were residing there were consisting of Jews, Muslims, and polytheists. So he did not differentiate between the people belonging to one community over another. So what he did to combat that there might be some kind of differences that might develop between people. So he constituted a constitution that is called a Medina Charter, where he said that any person will have, if belonging to any community, any culture, or any traditions, they will be that issue will be taken into account and it will be met with justice based on equality, and there would not be any difference between a Muslim and a non-Muslims, and that problem would be will be justified taking into account their own traditions and cultures. So this way, uh, Prophet always emphasized that all humans, whether it's Muslims or non-Muslims, they have equal rights, equal respect, and he always emphasized on human rights. So the Quran also emphasized on this significant principles regarding interreligious harmony, peaceful coexistence, and religious pluralistic success. See, in chapter 38, that is Surah Kafirun, in that there is no coercion. For me, you can practice your own religion, where it is specified that you will be practicing your own religion and I will be practicing my own religion. I will not be forcing you into something that you would not want to do, and you will not force me into something that I don't want to do. You bow to your God and I will bow to my God. So this is very much evident in the Quran, and this is the divine scheme of of God. And Islam has always favored the pluralistic society. It is our short sightedness that we don't see Islam in that way. And because of these reasons, as you said earlier in the question, that people are becoming very extremist in their thinking because of their short sightedness.
Shabina, I would like to interject over here. Since you mentioned that people are becoming extremists, and Islam is a very pluralistic faith in its very innately in its very essence. But then, why do we see this? The schisms between Islamic sects. We see the Sunni Shia divide. Then we see the divide within the Sunni community as well. We see the various fractions that have been internecine over the past so many years. So why do we have this, and
See,
what can be the solution for this?
See, actually, the thing is that everybody has taken Quran is one, Islam is one, God is one, and Prophet is also one. In the
Correct.
last sermon, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he gave that khutbah, was addressed to the entire humanity, where he spoke of universality of the entire human being. He said that no Arab is superior to non-Arab, and no white is superior to any black. So what happens here after this sect? It has come into being after 1,000 years, during the period of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the companions. And that 1,000 years, there was no sect as Shia and Sunni. These are uh, the degenerated after it came after 1,000 of years. These, I would say that, I mean, everybody wants to have their own. What I feel when I go and meet people, I'm meeting a lot of people, they have their own agenda, and mainly because they want to say that Islam is, they are actually very much politically motivated. They think that Islam has to be established in the entire society, in the entire world. So this might be the reason of people deviating from the right path and different sect coming into being.
Um, Najud, I would like your reflections on this, particularly on the fact that Shabina mentioned extremist Islam. This extremism in Islam, which has crept up. Your take on this?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Najud, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, because the sound went away. Everyone here, or?
Yes, Najud, we can hear you.
Okay. I'd like to, I mean, this, as Shabina one, anything was chaos. So anything that is divine is the prescription for a universal humanity. So whatever we say, because in the Quran it says anything good is from God and all evil is from ourselves. So when we see, sects, and when we see this divisiveness, it's because we have moved away from God's designated path and created our own systems, thinking that we are self-sufficient. So I feel once we align back to the divine prescription for humanity, we will no longer see this. And I have a lot of faith in the last few years, there seems to be a shift in consciousness, a rising consciousness. And, more people are gathering to talk about spirituality. More people are returning to scriptures. More people are embracing the essence of spirituality in each of their scriptures and reaching out to others. So I think once we realign to the divine, there will be no reason for all this, sects and divisiveness within Islam and outside.
Mr. Ghulam?
Well, as Miss Shabina has beautifully elucidated the vital importance of Mithaqi Medina, or what we call the Charter of Medina. Mithaqi Medina, which was actually the first Charter of Human Rights in Islamic history, is the finest example of inter-religious, interfaith, and in today's context, intersectarian unity, because it was an alliance of not only Jews, Christians, and Muslims, but also the Meccan pagans. There were some Meccan pagans as well who had their clauses. There are 57 clauses in the Mithaq al-Madina, or what we call in Urdu Madina Muahda, and all are based on an understanding of interreligious understanding. And then this was the basis for later developments in Islam. For instance, when Prophet allowed Christians in his own mosque, Masjid al-Nabawi, Jews and only Christians from Najran, Christians who are very much famous in the Arab Peninsula. One of the delegations of Christians visited Prophet Muhammad, and then Prophet allowed them in his own mosque and allowed them to pray not only according to their religion, according to their creed, but also according to their qibla, because for them qibla was different. And then Sahaba companions questioned Prophet Muhammad whether how Prophet allowed them. Then Prophet said, "Innahum kanu mukrimin." They were kind to us. Innahum kanu mukrimin, and awaddu an ujazihum bil mukafat. And I want to treat them with the same kindness as they treated us. So this mutual understanding, this mutual kindness, which emanates from the Medina Charter of Human Rights, is the pressing need of the time today. And brother, I would like to leave in the midway. I have some urgency. I seek your permission.
We have one more question for you, Mr. Ghulam, but I believe, could you?
My pleasure to continue to carry it on, but
I see.
Just helpless.
All right. No, not a problem. Not a problem. Thank you very much for.
I express my deepest gratitude to all the panelists who are here. I am deeply enlightened by each and every observation and submission over here. Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glad tidings.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Since we are at it, and we have spoken about the Christian and the Islamic history during Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's tenure, and the pact between the Christians, the Najran Christians, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I would like to ask Shabina. Shabina, recently we have seen a very a controversial decision which has taken place in Turkey regarding the the mosque, the Sofia Hazgia Museum, which has been converted into a mosque. And many people from both sides have expressed their, anguish and their sadness, as well as, their lament regarding this conversion of this site, which has been there as an interreligious archive, which houses both Christian as well as Islamic, history. What is your take on this?
See, as a interfaith person and believing in brotherhood and harmony between various faiths, and since we are living in a pluralistic society, I am not in favor of this conversion of museum into a mosque. Because why I feel it was since UNESCO has given this status of that building as a museum, which was a platform for many religions coming there. And before the museum, it was a mosque for 53 years, and like, I feel Islam is not in favor, because our records, such as the vital sources from which we to learn about the past events, it becomes essential. It's Quran says that we have to preserve these historical monuments and buildings for generations to come, because they need to learn about their cultures and the cultures of other communities also. Because when we see, there is a mention of the preservation, when we look at the pharaoh here, when in the Quran it is mentioned about the pharaoh, where it is mentioned, it is the god, it is mentioned that we are preserving his body for the generations to come. One significant example of the importance of preserving a cultural or historical record is found in the Quran in relation to the pharaoh, the Egyptian kings and Moses contemporary who died by drowning, and preservation of a sacred relic. That is one more example. That is the Ark of the Covenant, of the Israelis, which was preserved for generation as a source of peace and security. So this mosque, which has been converted, it has definitely created a lot of impact on the people who are dedicating themselves for interfaith harmony. And so this is my take. I am not very much into this favor of being the mosque being turned into museum, turned into being into mosque.
Najood?
I think Shabina answered the question so eloquently. I mean, adding to that beautiful thing would be, would do the whole thing injustice. I agree with her completely. And it broke my heart in a way, because I think one of the reasons, when we speak about, for example, Islamophobia, and then for somebody's afraid, and then they read the Quran and they realize, wait a minute, this is not what I'm seeing out there. So as Muslims, we are ambassadors of the faith, just like Christians are ambassadors of Christianity and this is something that we're born into, and this is a responsibility that we carry as long as we continue to be in the faith. So it's not Islamophobia for people who know about Islam, it's more Muslim phobia. We have to also represent our religion. We have to represent the tolerance and humanity. And in some cases, sometimes when you see political issues and stuff, it's heartbreaking that many humanitarians that I see who are walking exemplars of the Quran are not in positions of power to say, we don't agree with this. And it broke my heart when I saw that in the headlines, you know.
Moreover, Najud, you have also been an interreligious ambassador and closely been working with the Jewish community. And do you face any backlash regarding do you face any backlash from the Muslim community?
Well, I have to say that my work has always been in writing, not dialogue, and it branched out of another initiative, which was for coexistence. And so I wouldn't say that I experienced any backlash, thankfully, maybe for other issues. You know, there was no backlash. And what people don't know is that there's a lot of news that is not spread. For example, let's speak about Rabbi David Rosen, since we mutually know him. A lot of people in this part of the world don't even know that he visited Saudi Arabia. A lot of people don't know that a sheikh from Saudi Arabia went and visited and prayed outside the Auschwitz camp. So I feel like it's also our fault in a way that we don't spread the good news. All we're always spreading, like, for example, when there's some kind of conflict, it quickly makes the front page news. There we go, yeah. So I would say in certain things, like, for example, the Interheart Initiative is still a baby. And my first interview was with Rabbi David Rosen, and slowly I'm getting involved. So I would not claim to be an expert in the field of interreligious dialogue as yet, but hopefully in time, with the open heart, who knows where to lead.
This is the photo that you were speaking about with Muhammad Al Isa from the Muslim World League, and along with Rabbi David Rosen of the AJC from the Interfaith department, who has been working towards Muslim-Jewish interreligious dialogue and interreligious harmony. Shabina, your take on the Jewish-Muslim relations.
I know one hadith. It is mentioned that it is mentioned in Bukhari that once Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sitting with his companion, and there was a funeral procession passing by, and on seeing this, he stood up in respect of the funeral of the person whose body was passing by, you know. So the companions who were sitting with the Prophet, they was astonished, and they asked him, why did you stood up? It's a procession of a Jew, not a Muslim. So the Prophet said, was he not a human being? So here you see the emphasis of the Prophet is a person being a human being. It's a divine scheme that a person should be respected, and he should be given the equal status because he's a human being, you know. And I have come to know about this also, that इंसान की हुर्मत, I mean the इंसान की हुर्मत जो उसकी इज्जत होती है, it's much more than the ghilaf of Kaaba. I mean, it's the human's body and the soul is so sanctified in Quran, you know. If you kill one human being, you're killing the entire humanity. So not much I know about the Muslim and the Jewish relationship. So this is what my take is between Jews and Muslim.
Thank you very much, Shabina. This was a very, very important hadith that you have remarked, that when Holy Prophet Muhammad was sitting and he was with his companions, a Jewish person's procession was, a dead person's procession was going, and he stood up in respect to pay his respects. And when he was asked about it, by his companions, he replied, was he not human? So we must learn the essence of this message. The essence of this message exemplifies, it exhibits that we must be reaching out towards each other and not, becoming cantankerous or rambunctious about a drop of a hat, which we have been noticing. Shabina, do you think that there has been, enough number of initiatives from the Muslim religious leaders, the Muslim clerics, to do outreach work with their counterparts from different religious faiths in India?
No, actually, what I feel being a part of the CPS International, Maulana Wahiduddin Khan, we are ambassadors of peace, we call, and we are distributed globally. What we are doing, Dawa, as Ghulam Bhai has mentioned, that Dawa is calling people to God. What we need to do at this point of time, when so much of negativity is surrounding us, from coronavirus to pandemic to so many things happening in India as well as in outside, so what we need to is to spread the message of peace, and can you just mention your question again? I just deviated from the, I mean, what? Yeah, you were talking about the clerics. Uh, not much is
Yes.
being done from the religious point of view. I at one point of time there are many people when I mean there I met a lady when I was giving Quran to a non-Muslim. That lady, in fact, she jumped and she said, and she fought with me, that why I am giving Quran to a non-Muslim, that person is not pure. I mean, I was really aghast. So you can understand what is the mentality of a Muslim. They are not ready to share a book of peace, that a book which was meant for the entire mankind. And the main mentality among the Muslim clerics is that they are very much into themselves, very much in there. And there is a lot of differences between one sect with the another, and they won't stand. If Shia is standing in a namaz, in a prayer, then a person from another sect will not stand behind him. It is only mentioned that you cannot stand in prayer if a non-Muslim is standing in front of you. Otherwise, every one of us is a Muslim. So not much is being done, as I know, as I'm coming in interaction with the clerics. And Quran has also mentioned about this, that there will be a time when the clerics will in fact will not be spreading the message of Islam. I think person like Maulana Wahiduddin Khan, and there are many scholars, which I have been listening to them. They are doing a tremendous work of spreading the message of Islam. Actually, the person like you and me, and the person who are the panelists who are over here, we understand what is the basis of peace, what is the basis of building a harmonious society. Only those people will come in this platform and spread the message of peace.
So would it be correct to say that we are following a very ritualistic tradition and not a spiritualistic tradition? It
No. We are not following a ritualistic traditions. We are following what the time is demanding, because if you say that it is ritualistic, in fact, we are counterfeiting that. We are fighting against it. Earlier, I was very much a traditional Muslim. What I have seen my parents doing it, I was exactly doing this. But when I came across Maulana's literature and I went through it, and there was a total change of mindset. And you won't believe, there are so many non-Muslims working in this platform with Maulana to spread the message of peace. So I
correct.
don't think so we are following the ritualistic practices, in spreading the message of peace and love and harmony.
Najud, the first time when I had seen your interview with respected Rabbi David Rosen, I was extremely pleased and very happy to find that a Muslim dignified woman is interviewing Rabbi David Rosen, and she is taking the lead in interreligious dialogue. And I was extremely pleased to see that women have been taking leadership roles when it comes to interreligious dialogue. And this is one of the reasons that I invited you both, is that I would like your take on the Muslim women leadership in the field of interreligious dialogue. Most of the places, venues, where we notice that the men have been taking the center stage when it comes to the interreligious activities and interfaith dialogue. what does it take for to inspire women to take the lead and represent the community? Because Islam has honored the women immensely, and we must be projecting that in letter and spirit as well.
I think what's firstly of essence is, of course, there are, we have the differences, the biological differences and whatever. But when you go beyond the gender labels and you speak as a human, so even when you speak, like when I have a conversation with the rabbi, you lose sense of the aspect of gender. It's human to human, it's soul to soul. The gender aspect is functional in society when you have the roles, certain roles with the people. And when it becomes too embedded in the culture, it creates divisiveness. And I promised Morgana that I would answer one of her questions. She has a question for Shabina and I.
Yes, please, by all means.
How do you deal with people who will not interact with you as a woman?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a very, very essential
question. Question.
I think, first of all, we need more people to speak about what's happening within the religion itself. When you go to a mosque, where does it stipulate that women have to be in the back of a mosque? And for a woman to accept this, it's also, that means that she's kind of imbibed a patriarchal culture. Whereas Islam came to give women a lot of benefits, they used to have female infanticide, women were not inheriting property. There was a lot of, and so when you're in, the other day, someone was saying in Mecca, which is the holiest site of Islam, men and women are bumping shoulders as they do the tawaf around the Kaaba. You can't help bumping into someone. You're not like, oh my God, a man just touched me. And someone was saying, if a man has an issue with that the issue is with the man, not with the woman. And I will give an example. When I went to Mecca with my sister and mother, and of course in Mecca you have to wear the complete, traditional and religious garb, and depending on your view. And a man came with a stick and told us to cover up. And how much more can you cover up? And my mom told him, you're in a sacred place. You're not supposed to be looking at women. Move away.
Correct.
And he actually moved away. So for me, it's the issue is, when they say lower your gaze and whatever, no woman wants to be stared at in a leery, creepy way by a man. You'll be afraid. So lower your gaze is also for men. Modesty is for both genders. And so for me, if a man does not accept as a woman, I don't take it personally. I have compassion for the man. I feel very sad, and I don't have an issue speaking with the very, the extreme version of Islam. I have uncles that are extremely conservative, and they've never interfered with my life. And when I sit with them, we're having tea and sandwiches and we're enjoying ourselves. So I feel even this divisiveness between us and them in terms of, conservatives and liberals is also creating a division within ourselves. Just as much as we can, just try and love and try and be kind. And, there's so many people, like you're doing beautiful work always, and Maulana Wahid Dean and his delegates from CPS International. There's so much beauty in the world. And I feel we need to focus more on that than what is happening to stop, because I see a lot of light on the planet lately, a lot. And obviously if you look at the news, no. But if you look on a scale, look, I'm talking to people, I can feel positive energy emanating from the screen. When I speak to my friends and family members, there's so much love. So I have faith. Women, men, all of that is going to rise in consciousness.
Shabina, your take on Morgana ma'am's question?
First, I will address what you have said, why woman is taking up the leadership qualities, because I feel women are more compassionate. They feel more. They are very much emotion. Uh, they can feel the pain of somebody. If somebody is in pain, I can feel that pain. It's not about the religion. That person is belonging to another religion, so I should not feel the pain for that person. It's imbibed in us, because we are mothers. We give birth, so that is very much into our being, feeling love, feeling being kind, having mercy, and having compassion for other people, what I feel for myself. And that is a reason that could be the reason that women are coming out more to taking up this leadership uh, status or place or quality, And another thing that I feel, what I have been since my sixth year with the CPC International, and I have been working and meeting a lot of people, both genders, I feel more of the constraint coming from the woman's side rather than from the men. Men, I have, times have changed. I move with people. I'm being welcomed as a Muslim woman by the other gender. They see me with respect. And what I have to say, I have always had never a negative experience. In fact, I cannot recall a single negative experience when interacting with a person from the other gender. It is more from our own community, where maybe my own relatives, they are not seeing me properly, because I am imparting this knowledge of peace, and I am spreading compassion. They don't see me, and that way that I should be, they're not accepting me in this kind of role, and more of the thing is coming from the woman, because they want to see women behind the veil, behind the parda. And you should not be outspoken, you should not be smart, you should be looking after your home, and you should be looking after your children, and you should not be so savvy. But when you recognize yourself, like I know what, I recognize myself, what is my passion, beside performing the other roles of being a mother, being a wife, and looking after my family. I feel I can do a great role and a bigger role being a woman, you know so this is my impression about myself.
Very, very, remarkable, very inspirational and motivating was rather, Shabina and Najood. One question which I have for Shabina. Shabina, of late you have been noticing that we are undergoing this deplorable time in this pandemic, and it so appears sadly that members of the Muslim community in particular have been accused, they have been blamed wrongfully for spreading this disease in many parts of the world. So, how do you see it, and what do you see as a Muslim woman? How do you see that you could mitigate the situation and help bring about a constructive and a positive change to change people's minds and their perceptions regarding Islam in this particular fashion?
uh, See, before this pandemic, there was already a lot of negativity and lot of things that was going around in India, regarding the CA and NRC. People were very tense, and just that was not actually that thing was actually happening in the midst this pandemic coronavirus came in, so we were already tensed with all these things, and this has been continuing, so like what I feel, disease does not have a religion. Muslims in India had been targeted for a pretty long time, as you know, as I know. We have been targeted. So that was one pandemic. They got one, what you say, one more clause to include in that mindset, or the people, uh, thinking that this could also be a part of Muslim spreading, because there is so disturbing news about the Tablighi Jamaat in Delhi, how they were treated in spite of being put into the quarantine of 14 days. They were not being released even after 1 month, without any facilities, without any given any provisions of food, water, and the proper place to live, so you can understand how human being on the religious level is being treated. This is against spirituality of all religion, but there are certain mindsets of the people who are not ready to what we can do right now, being confined to our home, we can come out in support of those people who are trying to mitigate between trying to have a lesser effect of this uh, pandemic.
Mhm. Mhm. And similarly, it so appears that since we have spoken about this pandemic being Muslims being wrongfully accused and blamed, it also happened that the Jews were also wrongfully accused of spreading the plague as well.
So you understand the minorities are being targeted. It's not about the Muslims also only. It's about the other people who are vulnerable, who are being sectionized in the society. They're all being treated like that. It's a mindset of the people. We need to change that. We need to let them see actually that this is not, disease does not have any kind of religion. And there was a huge outcry when Tablighi Jamaat was being targeted. There were huge outcry all over the world against this.
Correct. Um, I would like to go to the question answer session, but since we already taken one question, do we have any more questions for the panelists before we uh, wind up? We have a few participants. Ezra Moses, Morgana, any questions? You have a question? Ezra Moses, sir, you have to unmute.
I said very well put across, very nice, very pleased to hear both the panelists speaking so well.
Thank you
Very
very
good,
much.
very informative, very informative.
I would like to introduce Mr. Ezra Moses. He belongs to the Jewish community and he's a representative of the Jewish community in Maharashtra and widely India as well. Welcome, Mr. Ezra Moses. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Very, we are very inspiring to have you over here. We are very pleased to have you with us.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for the panelists?
Sure. No, not really, because I came halfway. It was very interesting whatever I went through.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
In fact, Shabina and Najud have put everything across the table very well. They have expressed their views and their perspective in a very nice manner.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The global political discourse has become highly polarized in the past few years, and we have been seeing a lot of socio-economic disparities, political tensions, and cultural factors. And now the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic is also there, it has worsened things for the entire world. But apart from that, religion remains one of the most thorniest issues on the table, and despite many faiths. And as world religions seem to take on an outsized role in sparking tensions, there are some people out there like Shabina Ali and Najud and many other interfaith ambassadors who are there with us, like Morgana as well, and Ezra Moses, and several other hundreds and thousands of people who are standing out there to do good work and promote peace and harmony in their societies. These are the grassroots level activists, grassroots level workers who are promoting interreligious dialogue and doing immense good work. We are extremely pleased and happy to have them with us and give us their time and patience. And I apologize for the delay today. Um, Thank you very much for joining us. And before we leave, I would like your take on a true Muslim is one who is concerned about the welfare of humanity and not someone who is at war with humanity. I would like your take on this, Najood and Shabina, before we wind up. And this is a quote by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan Saab from his book.
I just come across a video today of Maulana. He was saying that every person loves his family, every person loves his community, but a person is one who goes beyond this, beyond loving oneself, beyond loving his family, beyond loving his community, because that is not Islam. Loving your family, loving oneself, and loving your community, it is not this message of Islam. Islam is loving the entire mankind with compassion, having mercy, having love for each human being. And I have a very short message for all the listeners who is being a part of this and the viewers who is watching this. I would suggest, and I want to give this message that please go through the scriptures, because we are being misled, because we don't know what is there in the scriptures, whether it's Quran, whether it's Bible, whether it's Gita, whether it's Guru Granth Sahib, Granth Sahib. All scriptures speaks of love, compassion, and mercy. Another message that I would like to say that this is a time which is a hardship for each one of us. Each one is facing the world over. We do not need to succumb to negativity. We need to be positive in all situations. Before this pandemic, there has been pandemic and many other issues, and we have surpassed all that. Inshallah, we will surpass this also and will come out a winner. And we will live to tell our children, our upcoming generations, that we had faced this. Another thing is establishing peace should be our first priority. It should be our first priority, as it is the sole path to positive achievement. It is the sole path to positive achievement and crucial factor for human survival. We need to understand this, and we need to fight for this, and we need to go ahead with this. Another thing which is very, very important in this time is to differentiate between Islam and Muslim. Maulana has always emphasized that Islam has always been bracketed because of the activities of some very small sections of the Muslim community who are hardliners, who have extremist thinking, and who has been doing extremist activities. There is 2.2 billion Muslims and is the second largest religion in the world. Because of the very few sections of the Muslims and their activities, we have been bracketed and we have been targeted. So we need to go through the Islamic scriptures to understand and differentiate between Islam and Muslims. This is my message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shabina. Thank you very much. Final words from Najood, please.
In Arabic, the word for human being, insan, comes from the same derivation of forgetfulness. So we have forgotten who we are. And God in the Quran says we have created you from one soul, one self. He did not say we created Muslims. He said we created you, which is a plural you to everyone. And also I feel it's also dangerous for Muslims to take on a victim mentality, in the sense that, the whole world is against us. Because what happens to that, when you walk around with a wounded soul as we've seen, you can have factions of violence and you can have factions of fragmentation, and you won't be doing the spiritual work inside of you. At the end of the day, we come here alone and we're leaving alone. There are certain things that, even in the Tao, there are certain things that cannot be fixed. The world is yin and yang. There's a duality. But when you spread peace, as I can tell from the work of Owais and Shabina, peace will naturally come. So that can only happen when, as individuals, we look into ourselves. We move from the self that is inclined toward evil up to the self that starts to blame, up to the nafs al-mutma'inna. So everyone who does the work individually, you will see results in the community like we're seeing with these noble souls I'm surrounded with today. And another thing I'd like to say is a verse is repel evil with that which is good. And he who saw as your enemy will become your bosom friend. In the Bible, it says, pray for those who persecuted you. The Jews, they tell them to treat strangers with kindness. In the Bhagavad Gita, it also says, no, I and mine. So it's about surrendering this notion of me, and we, and our community, and going transcending all the layers and all the veils of separation until you realize, oh my God, we're all in this together, So, and I will leave you with one last story, which I'd like you to research online. It's Daryl Davies. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He's an African-American who befriended 200 members of the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. He would go ring the doorbell, take his guitar, and just have conversations with them. He did not try to ask them, why are you racist against me? He did not try to convert them to his way of thinking or anything. He's like, I just wanted to hang out with them. And 200 members of the KKK left. And that's online, Daryl Davies and the KKK story. So that's my final one.
Thank you very much, Najud. Thank you very much, Shabina. Thank you very much, Morgana, Ezra, Moses, and everybody who's joined us. And so before we wind up for the evening, my humble request to everyone who's watching this video is that please do not judge a Muslim and jump to conclusions based upon any misconception or misapprehensions which are based and solely upon some hate messages. And if you would like to get to know Islam, please reach out to authentic, genuine people like Shabina and many other religious peace ambassadors who have been promoting a very pluralistic image of Islam, and do not judge Islam based upon the miscreant actions of a few Muslims, because that is not what Islam is all about. Islam is much more assimilative, much more accepting, and much more admirable, and it accepts everybody. And we would like to thank everybody for watching this, and thank you for your patience. And please join us again for our next sessions. And thank you very much, Najud, Shabina, Morgana, all the peace ambassadors for your valuable time and effort. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And before we leave, I would like to wish everybody a very happy and a very prosperous Eid al-Adha in advance this coming week. So please enjoy it very safely with your families, your friends, and in the spirit of sacrifice, please go ahead and promote harmony and peace all across the world. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Shalom, Salam. Good night.
Assalamu alaikum. Good night.
God bless. Shalom, Ezra. Shalom.